I prefer that you knew I was drinking tea rather than you thinking I'm drinking very milky coffee. I know I'm super late with this video. The shop has been crazy busy over Christmas and I just wasn't able, and then I had COVID. But today we're checking out the Tudor Pelagos FXD. Is that the name? So I've already done a video on the FXD when it was first announced, but I hadn't got hands-on with it, and you have to get hands-on with a watch before you can truly pass comment on it. But a couple of weeks after doing that video, I went down to Tudor. I went to their head office, got hands-on with some of the historic pieces, and managed to borrow an FXD. A lot of my original comments I still stand by. Actually, all of my original comments I stand by. This watch wears very differently from a Pelagos. It feels very different from a Pelagos, and I really think that Tudor could have launched this as a separate model from the Pelagos. There is a big benefit to talking about a watch this long after it's being released, because all of the hype has died down, all of the initial excitement has died down, and especially with the fact that we're in a new year. This watch has a stamp on the back, and the first versions of this, which were stamped 21, they are going to be massive collector pieces, big investment pieces, and that rush has all gone. That initial excitement has gone, and so we can just look at this watch for what it is, as opposed to the collector's side of it, the investment side of this watch. The watch that you buy now won't be a collector's piece. And so we can be a bit more level-headed about it. So the purpose of the Pelagos FXD is it is a watch that's been designed for the Marine Nationale. This is the French Navy, and the relationship between Tudor and the French Navy goes back to 1956. The watch that Tudor has launched today has clearly taken heavy inspiration from watches that were issued to the Marine Nationale. However, it's been modernized to really quite a heavy extent. The materials that have been used are completely different. Rather than having steel and aluminium, we have titanium and ceramic. The original was very much a Rolex Submariner with a different movement and a different stamp, a different logo. Whereas now this is out and out a brand new watch. This case is not used in any other part of the Tudor lineup, nor is a bezel, and so this is a completely new watch. New for last year. It's technically a year old. I'm not really going to talk about the specifications here because you've probably seen them already, but there are two things that really stand out as different with this watch from the original Pelagos, and that's the thickness. This is only 200 meters water resistant as opposed to the 500 meters of the original Pelagos. Because of that, the watch is so much thinner, and it also doesn't have that helium escape valve on the left-hand side of the case. The other point is that this has solid strap pins. The whole case is one piece as opposed to having lugs and spring bars. This does make the watch wear obviously thinner because of that water resistance, and also because of how the case bends around your wrist. It makes this 42mm wide watch really very, very wearable, more so than the original Pelagos. Although that's depending on what strap you have, because the straps are quite odd and they do wrap around differently. Another benefit of doing this video later than everyone else is that you can see points that other people get wrong, and also points that the community make. And so people grumbling that this is only 200 meters versus the 500 meters, one, very, very few people are going to take this anywhere near those depths. But two, this kind of taps into the whole purpose of the FXD. This watch was made for the Marine Nationale. It wasn't made as a general product that's been designed to fit a broad purpose that is diving. This is being designed for a certain dive style, a certain dive mission, and so 200 meters is what the requirement was for this watch. Basically, this watch wasn't built by Tudor. I mean, there will definitely be a commercial element to it, but the general idea of this watch was for Tudor to create a tool for a very specific purpose, and that purpose is for the GERS dive team within the Marine Nationale. These guys do underwater navigation to carry out their missions, and that's why the bezel is a bi-directional countdown bezel. It makes more sense if I explain how this watch is used, or the purpose it's used for. Basically, the mission that these divers will go on, they'll work in pairs. So you'll have essentially a navigator and a pace setter. And what they do is they say, we're here, and the next waypoint is in this direction. So you'll have a navigator who decides this is the direction that we need to go in. But you're underwater, you probably can't see anything, and also your points of navigation will be sparse, if anything at all. And so you'll have one person deciding the direction in which you go in, and then you have another person setting the pace. So you know the direction you're going to go in, you know the speed in which you're going to go in, but how do we know we're going to get to the waypoint over here? You're going to know that because you just calculate it. The whole speed, time, distance thing, that's what you use. So you've got the direction, you've got the speed, and then on the watch, you have the time. You set the time, we have to swim in this direction for this amount of time, and then we'll know we are at the next waypoint. So unlike normal dive watches where your bezel is used for your dive time, this dive bezel is used for measuring distance or time traveled over a distance. It's really pretty cool. And that leads on to the next point of, I really like that this watch has been designed for a very specific purpose. Unlike the Submariner, unlike the Black Bay, unlike the Seamaster, which is a generic tool. It serves a purpose, but it's a generic tool. I like the romance around how specific this is for a specific purpose and a military purpose. That's quite a cool connection. But the actual military watch is different from the retail watch, which is cool and not cool. It's cool because it means that there's another level of collectors. There's another level of geekery going on. But then it's also not cool because it means that this is actually just another dive watch that is just created for a general purpose. This isn't the military version. So it kind of takes away from the sexiness of it. The difference between the retail version and the military version is, one, you get to choose which side the crown is on. The text on the dial, everyone comments on the text on the dial. The military version has less text on the dial to make the dial cleaner. Maybe Tudor should have taken that as, maybe we should do this for the retail version. The final difference is on the strap. The military version has a link because these two divers are linked together. There's a tether from the pace setter and the navigator, and so they can travel together, and the tether is between the strap. Again, that's quite a cool thing. It'd be completely unnecessary to have a strap that has a loop to go across, but I like that idea, and it would be cool to have. It would be cool for Tudor to launch that as the actual retail version. I do feel they missed the point. The point of this was to create a military watch and to celebrate that connection, but then they just created another retail version. So it's a funny old thing. Coming back to that thing around liking this watch because it's built for a specific purpose. Because of that, it does change my personal viewpoint. You might be different, but it changes my viewpoint of things that I would typically dislike about this watch. I feel the bezel is too busy. There's too much information around the bezel. But that's just my personal preference, and the fact that that is a requirement for the real purpose of this watch, it kind of changes the context around it. It's like, my opinion doesn't matter because the person who's actually going to use this watch needs something else. And so I quite like that. Although I have multiple watches, I do like the flexibility of having a watch that can be on a bracelet and on a strap. I obviously sell straps. That comes from the fact that I like straps. I have some watches that just live on straps, and I have other watches that live on bracelets. I like the flexibility of being able to swap it around, and I love the fact that this has solid strap bars, but I also dislike the fact that it doesn't have a bracelet. It would have been awesome if Tudor had created a bracelet that could clip onto these solid strap bars. Granted, the engineering and development of all of that would have cost a huge amount, and that would have destroyed the pricing. This watch is around £2,700, within line with pretty much everything else Tudor does. It's an incredible amount of watch for the money. This watch comes with two different straps. We have this rubber NATO strap, but it doesn't feel like rubber if you were to imagine what a rubber NATO strap would feel like. It's kind of got fibers woven between it, so it's kind of got a canvas. It's like a canvas strap with a rubber surround to it. So it's a very, very strong strap. You can actually pull it tight, and it's not stretchy. It's quite a rigid rubber strap. It feels great. It's cool. And then we have this Velcro strap as well, which I really like the buckle of. Neither of the straps would I personally use or wear. That's not because it then allows me to lead into a plug for my own straps that I sell over at barkandjack.com, but just because although I like the engineering of the straps, they just don't feel nice for me. I'm sure a rubber NATO strap works perfectly if you're going diving, but as would a NATO strap from barkandjack.com. It's important to note that this isn't an issued watch. This isn't a watch that the Marine Nationale can request from stores. This isn't something that's being given to these guys. They have to buy it. This is just a product that's been built for a purpose. Another point to make is that this watch is incredibly difficult to find. It isn't limited edition. It is stamped. Each one is going to have the year stamped onto the case back. And of course, that then just feeds the whole hype machine, and everyone tries to flip it for a load of money. But if you're interested in this watch, check it out, because I think it's a cracking piece. Guys, have you got hands-on with the FXD? And if so, what do you think of it? Now that the hype has kind of died down, it's not gone away. It's still an interesting watch. But now that kind of initial spark of hype is gone, what are your thoughts on this? If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like the style of this video, hit the subscribe button down there and that little bell icon so you get notifications when I drop a new video. If you want to check out the watch straps and watch accessories that we have, jump over to barkandjack.com. If you're on Instagram, give me a follow at barkandjack, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.